Hello, 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 and welcome. My name is Sabrina Victoria. I am here with Her Talk Show. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a great topic that we're going to be talking about today, self-awareness, and how this is actually a leadership superpower. We have Glenis here, Coach Glenis, here to talk about that with us today. We're super excited. So get comfortable as we explore the triumphs, the challenges faced by women worldwide. She's here to offer some insights, some inspiration to fuel not only your personal, but also your professional growth. Let's jump in. All right. If you're listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love in the comments. We're here and we delve in this podcast around the topics of health, wealth, and leadership with some of the most brilliant women globally. We've interviewed over 800 women, and today we are adding another one to the list. We have Coach Glenis with us today.
Hello.
She is a former engineer and corporate executive, certified human behavior consultant, certified DISC Profile Analyst, and behavioral leadership strategist who helps women entrepreneurs and leaders decode human behavior, improve communication, because we need that, and strengthen emotional intelligence and become self-aware leaders. Welcome, Glenis.
I'm so excited to be here. It's an honor to be here. I'm really excited.
Thank you. Love having you. So excited to dig in. You and I had a great conversation a couple weeks ago for about an hour, and I was just like, dude, this is so good. This information is so good. So I'm so excited. First, before we dive into all the goodness you're going to be sharing today, why human intelligence? Why communication? Why is this so important to you, decoding human behavior?
Well, because self-awareness didn't just change my career, it changed my life. I married at 19 years old, and 15 years later, that marriage ended in divorce. Like many women, I spent a lot of time asking what happened, but eventually, I began asking a different question. The question was, what can I learn about myself from this experience? That was the beginning of a journey of self-awareness. I began to understand my communication patterns, my assumptions, that's the biggie one, my strength, my blind spots. They're blind because we don't see them, right? And the ways I show up in relationships. 3 years later, I remarried and enjoyed an extraordinary marriage for more than 21 years until my husband unexpectedly passed away. Then, 4 years later, I remarried again. I've been married for 3 years and 2 months. Looking back, self-awareness didn't just help me become a better leader, it helped me become a better partner, communicator, friend, and decision maker. That's why I'm passionate about this work, because I know firsthand that when you understand yourself better, every area of your life improves. Whether I was leading teams as a corporate executive, running my own international company, which I became a VP at the age of 29 to an analytical company in California. By the age of, in my early 30s, I was speaking in international trade shows and technical meetings. I went to NASA, I went to universities all over the United States, Europe, and Latin America. But believe it or not, I was leading teams as a corporate executive, running my own international company, navigating marriage, rebuilding after loss, or coaching women. I kept discovering the same truth. And this is the truth. Are you ready? The patterns we don't recognize are often the patterns we will repeat. That's true in business, it's true in leadership, and it's true in relationships. The more self-aware we become, the better choices we make. And better choices create better outcomes. I want you to know that my background is in nuclear engineering. By the age of 30, I have 2 papers published on the Journal of Medical Physics because I designed an instrument to detect breast cancer. So I've been in the corporate world and as an entrepreneur. But I have, in my life as an engineer, that learned that the key to changing outcome is recognizing patterns. First, in systems. Second, in people. And ultimately, in myself. That's what self-awareness is so important. I'm so passionate about it.
What do you mean by systems?
Well, in engineering, you look at, like I was designing a nuclear power plant, right? This system communicates with this system, and that system communicates with another system. So you need to know your part, recognize what are the things that are happening in between the communication and the interactions. And the same thing in people. Who are they? How are they wired? How do other people perceive them? And what are their strengths? And they can lead from strength. And if they don't know what their blind spots are, what triggers them, because we become a different person under stress. But we need to recognize what they are and what are the triggers. And that's what I mean, recognizing patterns and systems. And then in yourself.
So how does one recognize a pattern if they don't know there's a pattern?
Okay, well, that's one of the things that I do an assessment. And I use the DISC model of human behavior. A lot of people have done this for jobs, but what I do is I apply what you discover about yourself. And the DISC model of human behavior just have 4 traits, the tendencies that you have. For example, a person that is, DISC stands for DISC. D, a direct person. They're results oriented. They know that sometimes if they're leading, they are in the front and follow me, but they have blind spots. What are those? You're up front and your team and people are falling by the wayside, but you don't notice. So you need to recognize that's a pattern. When I'm leading, I need to go back. Are they following me? Are they doing the right things? Instead of just focusing on the result. Another tendency is a trait, and we all have these traits, but it's in different proportions, is an influencer, the I. An I, he loves attention, or she loves attention. She loves to be recognized. But when she's leading, she gets in the middle of everybody and gets distracted. And all of a sudden, instead of getting to the goal, they went on left field, someplace. So the blind spot is knowing that's the pattern. I'm going to be distracted. I have to put boundaries. I need to know what they are. Another trait is an S. The S is a supportive kind of person. They like harmony. They want everybody to be all right. And they lead from behind like a shepherd. Nobody gets left behind. What happens with that? They're so worried about not people letting behind, and they go to one of the ship that went over here, and now they don't go to the goal. So they need to put boundaries to know that's my blind spot. The last trait is the C, conscientious, competent. They want to do things right. They want to know the data. Well, they lead on the side because they are observing the pact. They're observing, are they doing the right thing? But what is their blind spot? People said, you're not doing anything. You're not part of the deal. You're just outside. So that's the blind spot. Is that making sense?
Yeah, it does. So can somebody have more than one trait?
Oh, yes. Usually you have 2. For example, to give you a quick summary, you can tell when you see somebody if they are reserved or they're outgoing. That's easy.
Yeah.
But the outgoing person can be task-oriented or people-oriented, and that's what you don't see yet. Okay. The same thing. The reserved person can be task-oriented or people-oriented. Well, guess what happens? If you are a task-oriented person, I'm a double task-oriented person. I'm D and C, direct. And I do this in a graph and the tendencies, and there are 2 graphs. One, how you're wired, and the other, how people see you. And I go over that in my analysis with them. But what happens is I am a double task-oriented person, which means I'm direct, but I pay attention to detail. I pay attention to making things right. Well, imagine when I married my first husband, he was an I. An I is a person, the influencer, having fun. They forget there are 24 hours in the day. So what happens? He accused me of not having fun. And I accused him of not getting anything done. And we were both right. Now, that's in a personal relationship, but the same happened in your business with a client. All of my clients, my whole life as a coach, I done this because if I have a person that pays attention to detail, I don't have to remind her of the appointment or the homework or the assignment. I'm going to get on her nerves. But another person, an influencer, she's not paying attention. I have to remind her in the middle of the week and the day before because that helps me understand the person where they are.
Yeah.
Not because they are not all like me.
Yeah. Very cool. Very, very interesting. I love all of that. So D for direct, I for influence, S for supportive, C for
Conscientious. Yeah.
competent.
Yeah.
And then how does somebody figure this out? There's a test?
Oh, yes, we have an assessment. I have one that I'm going to talk about later. I'm going to do a workshop on that. I have one that has 7 pages, and it tells you your strength, your blind spot. This is an interesting thing. One of the things that we find out is all of us, depending on the trade, and as I said, it's a percentage, it's a graph. Some people, like I'm very high D and high C, but my S is low. That means that I need to work on being supportive, listening to people. I'm going to give you an idea. My late husband and I, we have gatherings at home, and we were one day with a lot of people, and he called me and said, Blanche, is something wrong with her? I have no clue. I didn't see that. I'm not an S. He was. So at the end, I called her. I said, is everything okay? Oh, she starts crying. I didn't see that. So I intentionally learned that that's my blind spot, and I need to pay attention to the people's faces, how they're communicating, so that I can improve that area that is my lowest area.
Wow.
I don't need to improve my D. I just come, boom, let's do this. They get the result. Let's make the plans. Is that making sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we're talking about, so this is becoming self-aware so that we can have better leadership. So how are you seeing this working well with teams or in the workplace?
Oh my goodness, that's when it goes very powerful. I remember a year ago, I did a workshop for a nonprofit in Washington, D.C. There were 9 ladies in the room, and I was coming via Zoom. So I didn't know them. They knew each other. They were leadership from this nonprofit, and I did all the assessments for them. So I usually put the letter on, like, Coach Glenis, D.C., so I know. Well, I couldn't do that because they were all in one room. So they were all together and me. So I started describing, is that you? Is that you? Blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, all of the ladies started laughing and laughing and laughing. And I said, what's going on? I knew there was one person there that was extremely high I. And everybody else was S, C, D, S. Well, I was describing that the influencer, they're always put together, their glasses match their purse, their shoes, and they're impeccable. And they love red. Well, they were laughing because they all pointed to the lady. She's dressed in red. Her glasses are red, and her shoes are red.
Oh,
Laughing. She's the I. That's exactly who she is. So it's interesting because then they could understand when the person is an I and you are C, the I gets distracted with details. So you need to give them enough details so that they don't get lost. But if you're talking to a person that is a C, if you don't give them data, they don't work. They need data because how are you going to get something right if you don't know what to expect, what you're expecting of them, or what the rules are? I remember when I was like 4th grade, and my sister, I am one of 7 sisters. My father didn't have a boy. All my nephews, male, have my father's name. So it's interesting. I couldn't believe it. Why don't they get A+? Why? I said, all you have to do the first day of class, 2nd grade, 4th grade, or whatever, you go figure it out what the teacher wants. Then you do that and a little bit more, voila, A plus. What's the deal? See, people see these things differently. Some of them want to have fun. Some of them want to have harmony. Like a person that is high S, they will die before they confront somebody. So if you're a leader and you're high in S, we need to work on you becoming self-aware that people are not going to take advantage of you and that you need to confront that situation. You're not going to die if you don't keep harmony. That's okay. It's required of leaders. So that's
I love that. Are you a D? What are you? You're a D.
I'm a DC, high
DC.
D, high C. The high DC is double task oriented, but I'm outgoing and reserved. But interesting enough, that's who I am. But as people perceive me, I'm high I. And this is the reason I believe I have something to say. If I keep doing stuff and not show up on stage, how am I going to tell people? So I make myself be an I, which is my third trait. We all have four. And then that's when I'm here. Because otherwise I'll be working.
So there's who you are, and then there's who people perceive you to be.
Correct. And I go over that because you need to know that. And, I had a lady that she was an SC, but she showed up as a D. And the reason was, we talked about it, her family, everybody, father, mother, older brother, older sister, they were all Ds. They're all boom, 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 boom. And in order for her to survive, she had to become a D there.
Wow. Okay.
And so, but what I say is you need to figure out how people perceive. You put yourself in their shoes. If a person is an S, don't give them too many choices because they will not decide, because they want to agree. I was doing a coaching for a couple that were going to get married. They were both high IS. So I said, okay, typical I. When you go to a place, you're going to compete for being the center of attention. So take turns, your turn and your turn. So to keep the peace. But both being as I's, you don't pay attention to details. So you need to either hire a secretary or you need to develop that skill because you are not going to be able to accomplish what you tell people you're going to do. Well, they got married like 7 months later. She texted me, you were so right. We were driving from Florida to Ohio. Well, we forgot. We can't just drive through like that. We didn't calculate that we need to stop and spend the night someplace. And I'm thinking, I see we'll plan this so carefully. And that's what is so important. For example, when I hired my virtual assistant, the first thing I did to the candidates, I did an assessment because a virtual assistant, I need somebody that is detail-oriented, but I needed an SC or CS.
Yes.
And then guess what? I got one like that. A virtual assistant that is an I, she will never meet the deadline. Yeah. She won't help me. Yeah. So that's one of the things that are important. Some of my sisters are very high I, and we love each other, but we get on our nerves because they just want to have fun. And we came here for a purpose. This is what we're supposed to do. So my sisters laugh because my late husband and my husband now, they're both, the other one SC, this one is CS, pays attention to detail. So we plan our days carefully. 2 to 3 exercise, we have planned everything. Well, if my sister were married to my husband, she will die. She wants free. She doesn't want any plans. She wants to be spontaneous. You see why you need to know when you hire somebody or have a partnership. A lot of people, women are solopreneurs, but they're not alone. They have to work with other people. They have to work with clients. They need to understand how the other person sees it.
Yeah.
So one thing that I would like to share is, see, self-awareness is so important because is that in my late 20s, I was traveling with our executive team in the company in California where I was a VP. That was one of the largest analytical instruments trade shows in the world. I was often the youngest person and frequently, very frequently, the only woman. Well, researchers, professors, and scientists will walk up into the booth and assume I was a higher model. I was in my early 30s. because a lot of booths will have a model to attract people to come say hello. Well, they will come and they will go talk to the CEO and ask a question. And the CEO thought it was kind of funny. By the way, I'm going to see him at the end of the month. He will, when they ask the question, he will direct the question to me, like, go like this. And I will answer. When they finish, they will just look to him and ask the next question. And he will do that again. Well, at first, that bothered me. But over time, I learned something important. I couldn't control their assumptions. I could only control how I showed up. The more confident and self-aware I became, the less energy I spent trying to prove myself, and the more energy I spent delivering value. And that made me very successful. Mm-hmm. And that's one lesson that I teach today. Self-awareness gives you confidence because you stop needing constant validation from other people. And now I have another story. In my early 30s, I had my company. I started at 33. That was probably 34, like my first or second year. I remember being invited to NASA Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, to present a technical seminar. Well, at the time, that's a long time ago, all our communication had been through fax, so we never talked. So they had never met me in person. So I showed up there with my suit and going to be presentation, right? When I arrived, I could tell several people were surprised that I was a woman. They thought Glenis was a man, or maybe because I was talking a technical, I don't know. They made that assumption. I walked into the room, and there were 30 to 40 scientists sitting there in their lab coats with notebooks. When they saw me, many of them leaned back in the chairs, crossed their arms, as if they had already decided how much attention they were going to pay. But something interesting happened as I started speaking. And I told myself, these are brilliant people, but I know more about this, what I'm going to be talking about, than what they know. I started talking. I know all these people are going to be detail-oriented. I'm going to give them facts and figures and numbers. Then they started opening their notebooks and they started taking notes. And they bought the equipment. That experience taught me a lesson I never forgotten. People often make decisions about you before we say a word. Say a word, they make a decision. But credibility is built through competence, confidence, and consistency. Self-awareness helped me stop worrying about how I was going to be perceived and focus on the value I was there to deliver. And I did that. I have another story. I was in Brazil in this Polymer Society meeting. Like there was an auditorium of 500 people. And I was doing one of my presentations, and I was there. Usually, nobody interrupts you in this kind of setting. But a older guy, raised his hand. I have a question. I thought that was kind of rude, but he asked a question. His question was a tricky question. He wanted to he wanted me to appear that I didn't know what I was talking about. But I was so glad that I was able to give him an answer. And then he said, because he asked a question like he didn't know, he wanted to know what the answer was. When I gave him the answer, he was like, that is correct. And he sat down. I was furious. So at the end, I talked to one of the organizers. What was that about? That's so rude. He said to me, no, you don't have any idea. That guy from Germany is God here. And God just gave you his approval. And I said, see, I didn't know. I made assumptions myself. But the moment I became more focused on my contribution than of proving myself, and that's something that women, we tend to do. We try to prove ourselves all the time. But you don't have to, because you know who you are. Everything changes. Self-awareness helped me realize I didn't need to spend my energy again trying to change people's assumptions. I needed to spend more energy understanding my strength. And that's something that I teach. What are your strengths? Owning my expertise and showing up with confidence. When you know who you are and what your value is, you bring others people opinion, stop influencing who you are or carry so much weight.
Mm.
Because I experienced firsthand how understanding yourself can change every area of your life. And I want you to know something. Self awareness doesn't change your past, but it can change your future. The quality of our life often rises to the level of our self awareness. Listen to that again. How self aware are you? Do you know why you act the way you do? Do you know what triggers you? Do you know under stress how people perceive you? And once again, the patterns we don't recognize are often the patterns we repeat.
Mm. Yep, absolutely. So, should everybody be learning this self-awareness, the DISC assessment? Is this for everybody?
It's for everybody. We have some for children and teens. And it's so important. Imagine if you knew what your strengths are when you're in high school and what careers would you be better at because that's those your strengths instead of trying to do something. And I have a story of one of my mentors, and he said that he was speaking in some convention or something, and some guy came and he said, you know, I took the assessment and I would like your opinion. I'm in my third year of law school. Well, he was at CS. So my mentor, my coach, he said to him, what's your personality? He said that. And he said, oh my goodness gracious. He can't argue in court. As an S doesn't want to confront anybody.
Mm.
And then he said, what kind of lawyer do you want to be? Well, then he said, well, what do you like? He started talking. I love sports. This is this. Well, guess what? He advised him, be a lawyer for the sports people. You love that. They need the details. They need that you care. And he became a very successful lawyer for the start. I think it was baseball. I'm not sure. But you see how important it is for anybody, because a lot of people don't know what self-awareness is. Let me try to define it a little bit. Self-awareness for me is the difference between living in autopilot and now living intentionally. Self-awareness is the ability to recognize your strengths, your blind spots, your emotional triggers, your communication patterns, and how your behavior affects other people. Imagine how important that is. Your clients, your partners. And then most women spend years trying to improve their lives. Self-awareness helps them understand the person creating that life. See how important that is? Because when you understand yourself better, you lead better, communicate better, build healthier relationships, and make better decisions. And that's what I believe. This is a biggie. Self-awareness isn't just a soft skill. It's a leadership power. Let me give you some numbers. I know some people like numbers. Okay. A research conducted by Harvard University, Carnegie Foundation, and Stanford Research Center, all of them concluded the following. Listen to the numbers. 85% of job success comes from having well-developed soft and people skills. And only 15% of job success comes from technical skills and knowledge. In other words, hard skills. So we spent, I did years studying, all this technical skill to find out that it's only 15% of my success. And how many people spend time in the most important one? People skills. Because there's one thing, no matter what you do, there are going to be people there. I mean, it doesn't matter. So how did that affect leadership? I believe that because it's about leading yourself first. How do I present myself? What do I need to work on so that I don't show myself as like demanding or just weak? You need to understand. And whether you're running a company, building a business, as a solopreneur, I know a lot of people that are going to watch this are solopreneurs, but you're leading clients, serving a community, or guiding a family. Leadership is influence. That's the word for leadership, influence and impact. And influence happens through relationships. And relationship happens through communication because you can't do it if you don't talk to them.
Yeah.
So if
I
I
think a
don't,
lot of times people believe that they are the way they are because of their past relationships and their past family, right? So they grew up with a mother or a father that was a certain way, or they grew up with lots of siblings or no siblings, or they grew up in a certain environment, and they put that on their identity as like, I can't change or I can't be anybody else because of this situation that I grew up in. Through this, are you saying that when somebody becomes self aware, they can actually start to change those behaviors that they believe are part of their identity?
completely. See, if one of the biggest surprises I discover is that people don't experience our intentions, they experience our behavior, and behavior can be changed. So,
So
see,
behavior can be changed once we become aware, which is what
correct.
you're talking about, the self-awareness.
Yeah,
So first you have to become self-aware in order for you to start to create the behavioral changes that you're talking about.
yes, and the thing is, once you become self-aware and know, for example, that you will show up as controlling, you may intend to be helpful, but some will see you as coming across as intimidating or
Yeah.
controlling, or you may intend to be confident and they think you're intimidating. So you need to know how you are perceived. And some people may intend to avoid conflict and unintentionally create more conflict because they don't want to say what they think. And this conversation between two S, the S want to please. Okay, let's go out for dinner. And they say, where do you want to go? No, where do you want to go? No, where do you want to go? Because they want to agree. He said, decide. Today be a D. Just become a D. And I call that, this is a circle, DISC. So I tell people, visit the corner that you are the worst at. Work on it. So for solopreneurs, this problem may show up as in a client relationship, networking, or sales. By the way, each different personality sells differently. And then you need to learn your shortcomings on that area. And I know you're an expert on sales. And even when I do a presentation, I try to sprinkle things, fun things for the I, data for the C, and be agreeable with the S. And then don't just wander around because the D is going to get lost. You see how I have a presentation on, presenting with personality styles to cover everybody. Because when self-awareness increases, communication improves because you know what that person wants. Let me tell you something. Like a person that is a C and a CD like me, I want to be in control. Now that is an illusion because I'm not in control of anything, not the weather or nothing. But I want to be in control, and I don't want to be told what to do. Now imagine how that has changed my relationship with my husband. He knows that. And I know that he likes to plan everything. So I know his strength. So I play to those once I know. And that applies to your personal life
Yeah.
and your business. And then when a relationship improves, leadership becomes more effective and far less exhausting. So I just want the listeners to think about this. Leadership isn't about how many people report to you. Leadership is about influence, and influence begins with self awareness. And the first person every leader must learn to lead is yourself.
Yeah. This reminds me of growing up. I've always been a more sensitive individual. And my parents have talked to me now that I'm older about how the way that they disciplined all of their children was totally different
Oh, yeah.
because they knew that they didn't have to yell at me or raise their voice at me ever. All they had to do was look at me. That was it.
Yes.
They just had to like scowl at me, and I would straighten up like
Enough punishment. That was enough.
or whatever. Yeah. Versus, my sister or my brother, they had to discipline them totally differently. I was just listening to Tony Robbins recently, a podcast, and he was talking about this because he's a very aggressive person. My dad is a very aggressive person. But Tony Robbins is like, yeah, I've got some staff. I've got some people on my staff where I'm like very rambunctious and I'm very loud and la la la. And there was people that were quitting, leaving, because they thought that I was always mad at them or thought that I was always yelling at them. It's like, that's just the way I talk. So he's like, what I've had to learn over the course of 30 or 40 years that I've been doing this is like, I can't talk to certain individuals with that tone. I have to become self-aware of myself and the people around me to be able to be certain ways with certain people. So to your point, exactly, is the self-awareness of not only who we are and how we're showing up, but also the people around us. So this is the leadership that Glenis is talking about. It's not just about us, like, yes, us first, right? We have to become self-aware ourselves. I have our own behavioral changes we need to make, but then also next step is the people around us, our wives, our children, our employees, our teams, our community, church, and figure out, how we need to be with them.
Yeah, self-awareness leads to other awareness. There's no choice. I mean, when I'm giving my workshops, everybody's like writing down what they think their spouse or their son is because they're figuring it out when I'm talking about things.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow. I have a guy who went to visit, he needed to go to a meeting like that the following week, and we had a workshop. He sent me a text saying, what you taught me saved my trip. Because if I had shown up the way I am without understanding how they are,
Wow.
nothing would have worked.
Yeah.
So it's great. Let's put it on the website, testimonial. But see, one of the biggest lessons that I learned, what women think is the problem is often not the problem. Let me give you some example. A woman may say, I am overwhelmed. She thinks the problem is her schedule, but the real problem may be people pleasing or weak boundaries or fear of disappointing others.
Yeah.
Especially for the S, or difficulty having difficult decisions. They cannot have a difficult conversation. She's trying to manage her time. That's what she's saying. But what is the real problem?
Yeah.
What she really needs to manage is her patterns. That's why self-awareness is so powerful. Because once you see the pattern, you can change the pattern. That's what I'm talking about. Pattern. Identify them, and I help women do that.
Yeah.
And then I want you to know, when a woman is trying to manage her time, when what she really needs is to manage her patterns, then you can see the patterns and you can change the pattern. So once you identify, okay, that's what I'm doing. And guess what? I have met lots of women that have gone from one broken relationship to another. It's a pattern and they don't see it.
Yeah.
And it's because don't start a relationship, even as I said, with my virtual assistant, having somebody that I know I'm going to have to work so hard.
Absolutely.
So that is, I will say, one of the biggest mistakes women leaders make is trying to lead like someone else. They follow somebody on YouTube or podcast and they want to be like them or like Tony Robbins. But many women spend years comparing themselves to other leaders and trying to copy what works for someone else. But leadership is not about imitation. It's about authenticity. So how do you become authentic? Find out who you are. The more self-aware you become, the more confidence you gain in your own strength. You need to find out, do you know? I'm talking to everybody. Do you know your strength? Imagine just that one thing. What's your strength? And if you know that, you play along, you use it. That's your trump card.
Yeah.
Know your communication style. Same. And your leadership approach. One of the most freeing things a woman can realize is this. You don't have to lead like her, like Sabrina, to be an effective leader. You simply need to understand how you're designed to lead. And let me tell you, comparison is expensive because it costs you your authenticity. And the goal isn't to become someone else. The goal is to become the most effective version of yourself. And let's say, great leaders don't lead like everyone else. They lead like themselves on purpose.
Yeah.
Themselves, but they need to know who they are.
Yeah. I love it. So I know you have a self-aware leader workshop coming up. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's going to happen on June 20th.
And this is for men and women or women only? Who is this for?
I'm doing it for everybody.
Awesome. Okay.
It will be men, women, for everybody. And what it is I'm going to be presenting a workshop. It's going to be 90 minutes in which I'm going to describe the different personalities. But before you join, you have to register because you're going to receive a code for you to do a 20-minute online assessment. And at the end of that, you're going to know, are you a DC or CS or what? So when I'm giving the presentation, I will also send you a 7-page report. And I created a portal on the website where you have exercises that you can have access after the workshop. It's going to be from 11 a.m., that's June 20th, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. And it's going to be, I've done similar presentations like this, and they're aha moments. I have some people that were like, I did it for 28 teachers and staff in a school, and they were like, my goodness, no wonder. I said, when a C is asking you a question, it's not trying to catch you in a lie. He wants data. She wants data so she can perform the best because they are competent and so on. And they were all the same thing. And the group, by the way, they wanted me to go back because they wanted their spouses to do it.
Yeah.
So it really is a eye-opener.
Yeah. I think one of the most important things, just as far as being a human, is the importance of evolution and evolving as a human. I think sometimes we finish high school and we finish college and we're like, okay, that's it. I don't need to learn anymore. And I think one of the most important things that I've learned since my late 20s is how to human, like how to be a human. It's not just about how much money you can make. It's how are you as a person in the world, and how emotionally regulated are you to be able to control, to show up neutral to situations, to be able to listen, to be able to be curious, to be able to not, be get so frustrated, get so irritated, get huge blowouts for absolutely no reason. And being able to become like what you're talking about here, just self-aware of how we're showing up and how people are perceiving us. I absolutely love this. So this is June. I have it up on the screen, by the way. This is also in the description. So for those of you that are interested, there is a clickable link in the description also, wherever you're watching this at. But this is Saturday, June 20th. She's going to be keeping you for 90 minutes. So it's 11 to 12:30. So it's going to be a good, solid, value-driven workshop. Lots and lots of information. And it's going to be interactive, right?
Yes. Yes.
I love that.
Interactive. And I have to say that there is a VIP upgrade. So you can get the slide deck and also the recording later. But one of the things I wanted you to know also is that the greatest leadership breakthrough a woman can experience is understanding herself first.
Yeah.
And then you will say, why didn't I learn this when I was in high school? I wouldn't have made all these mistakes. Okay, but you cannot change the past. You can change the future. Yeah. And most leadership problems I have found are relationship and communication problems in disguise. Yeah. And I have to say, intelligence may open doors, but self-awareness determines how effectively you lead once you are inside.
Love that. Yeah, absolutely. So highly, highly recommend. Glenis is absolutely brilliant when it comes to this self-awareness and behavioral changes in leadership. She's been in this industry for a very, very long time. Where can people follow you, Glenis? Those that are interested, those that are leaning in, they're interested. Where can they find you? Where can they see more of you?
I'm on LinkedIn and also on Facebook. And my website is theliferenewalcoach.com.
Beautiful. Love it. Again, in the description below. This has been great. I so appreciate you being here, hanging out with us. Great, great information, great insight. I think this is just stuff that people don't always think about. People aren't always thinking about how can I communicate better, how self-aware I are. We just think we're alive. We're just like, I'm alive and this is who I am. They don't necessarily realize that there are so many tricks and tips on how to get along better as a human for ourselves, for our own sanity. I can't even tell you, first of all, I have probably dropped close to $60,000, if not more, on personal development. That's not business. Business, I've spent even more than that. But my personal development, the person that I am today, the way that I handle myself, the grasp that I have on like who I am as a person is night and day difference between who I am now and just who I was maybe 20 years ago. And the amount of like emotional regularity that I have, and what you're talking about, the overwhelm, the stress, the burnout, it's like almost nothing at this point, because I so know who I am and what I need and who I need to be around in order to be the best version of myself. I am so in tune with like my body and the visceral reactions that it has to be able to exit situations, enter situations, how to navigate that, how to deep breathe, how to be curious. It's been a whirlwind of greatness that has entered my life since I have learned what you're teaching here as far as just how to do it better.
Yes, and the thing is this, we all can improve. The moment we die is the only time we can improve.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, imagine, most women don't tell their age. I'm going to be 69 in July. I have energy. I've been married for 3 years. I'm in my marriage. Why? Because I had learned who I am. And I have learned how to enjoy life by protecting myself from myself. What do I mean by that? You know your shortcomings. You know your blind spots. Watch out. That's your pitfall. Don't fold. Protect yourself from yourself, but then you can protect yourself from others.
Yeah.
And that is what self-awareness is all about. And emotional intelligence. Do you know why you react like that? Don't you want to know?
Exactly.
I want to know. That's what emotional intelligence, that's what I teach women to do. I taught men too, but women, because I am a woman and I've been in leadership for so long.
Yeah.
And I know you are exposed to so many different, in my case, different personalities, different continents, different male, female, different traditions. And you need to know who you are.
Yeah. I love this. Very cool. So ladies out there, make sure you click the link, make sure you download, make sure you screenshot, join her. This is going to be a great, great workshop. And men, if you're listening live, men, jump in, say hello. This is your chance to be able to sit down with somebody who knows what the F they're talking about and be able to make some impact in your life with the people in your life, your employees, your team members, your coworkers, your wife, your girlfriend, you as a father, right? You as a father around your children. So this is great. Thank you so much, Glenis. So appreciate it. For those of you that are watching live, make sure that you make sure you share. This is definitely information that is beneficial to everybody in the workplace or outside of the workplace. I'll follow, like, and share. To our dedicated listeners, thank you, Glenis. Thank you for being here, giving us such great information. We so appreciate the wisdom and the inspiration that where we are right now mentally and emotionally does not have to be where we stay.
Correct. Thank you. It was an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation, where we continue to uplift each other every step of the way. I look forward to you joining us. Reach out. Until next time.